Do you know what actually happens inside your cat when you feed them wet food every single day? Most owners think it's just a better tasting meal, something tastier. But what's really happening inside their body is something most people have no idea about. It changes how their organs function, how they feel, even how they act around you. And what starts on day one could completely change the way you feed your cat forever. Welcome to The Cat's Mood, the channel where we dive deep into the science of cat behavior. I'm Dr. Lena. I've been a feline behavior researcher for over 20 years, and today we're answering one of the most common questions I get. Is feeding wet food every day actually better? And what does it really do? We're looking at 6 science-backed facts today, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll see that can of wet food in a completely different light. Number 1. Their body finally gets the water it was designed for. Have you ever watched your cat walk right past a full water bowl, like it isn't even there? It's not laziness, and it's not pickiness, it's instinct. Picture this, a wild cat in the desert. The sun is blazing hot. There's no water bowl anywhere. Cats evolved as desert hunters. Their ancestors got almost all their hydration from prey, from a mouse, from a small bird. Their bodies were never designed to drink lots of water on the side. That's why their natural thirst drive is so low. Here's the problem. Most house cats today eat dry kibble. And dry kibble is only about 10% moisture. Now look at wet food. Wet food is 75 to 80% moisture. That's almost exactly the same as a mouse. So when you start feeding wet food daily, something shifts fast. Hydration levels jump. Their kidneys don't have to work overtime filtering super concentrated waste anymore. Their urine becomes more diluted. And that lowers the risk of crystals and urinary blockages, one of the most common and most dangerous emergencies in cats, especially male cats. A study published in the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery found exactly this. Cats fed wet food produced significantly more urine volume with a much lower concentration. That's exactly what a healthy urinary tract needs. Your cat won't suddenly start drinking less water, but for the first time, their body stops running on empty. And honestly, this first change is the foundation for everything else on this list. But stay with me until the end, because there is one side to daily wet food that can quietly backfire if you're not careful. Number 2, their weight shifts in a way you won't expect. Why do so many indoor cats struggle with weight, even when their owners aren't overfeeding them? It's not because they're lazy, it's because of what's in the bowl. Dry kibble is packed with carbohydrates. Some brands are 40% carbs or more, and cats are obligate carnivores. Their bodies have almost zero biological use for that many carbs. They are not efficient at turning carbs into energy. So what happens? Most of it gets stored as fat. It's not a willpower problem, it's a food design problem. When you switch to daily wet food, the equation changes completely. Wet food is naturally higher in protein, higher in moisture, and significantly lower in carbs. That simple combination does something powerful. It lets your cat feel full on fewer calories, without you having to measure every single gram. A study from the Waltham Center for Pet Nutrition found that cats fed wet food were more likely to maintain a lean body composition, even when they were allowed to eat freely. Why? Because protein triggers a much stronger satiety signal than carbs do. Your cat actually feels satisfied, instead of constantly searching for more food. So if your cat has been carrying extra weight and nothing seems to work, it might not be about how much you're feeding. It might be about what you're feeding. And hey, if this is already changing how you think about cat food, take a second to hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more people who want what's best for their cats, not just what's most convenient. Number 3, their coat tells the truth before anything else. Have you ever seen a cat with a coat so soft and glossy it almost looks unreal? And then another cat whose fur feels dry and rough no matter how much you brush them? What if that has almost nothing to do with grooming? Your cat's coat is one of the most honest indicators of what's happening inside their body. When nutrition is off, the coat is the first place it shows. Dull fur, Excessive shedding, flaky skin. These aren't cosmetic problems, they're signals. Wet food is naturally rich in animal-based proteins and fats. Those are the two exact building blocks that skin and fur depend on the most. Dry kibble, even the expensive kind, goes through intense high-heat processing. That process breaks down a lot of those delicate nutrients before they ever reach your cat. When you switch to daily wet food, most owners notice the coat change within just a few weeks. The fur gets softer, the shedding slows down. That greasy or dusty feeling starts to disappear. Research in the Journal of Nutritional Science showed that cats on high-protein, moisture-rich diets displayed significantly improved coat quality and skin health compared to those on dry diets. The body stops rationing nutrients just for survival and starts putting them where they belong. So if you've tried every brush, every supplement, every shampoo, and your cat's coat still looks off, the answer might already be sitting in the wet food aisle. Number 4. Their behavior around food changes completely. Does your cat start screaming the second you walk toward the kitchen? Do they inhale their food like someone is about to steal it? Most owners assume that's just personality. But what if your cat isn't greedy? What if they're just never actually full? Cats that eat mostly dry food often develop frantic eating habits, and it's not because they love food more. It's because kibble doesn't send the right fullness signals to their brain. The high-carb, low-moisture content digests super fast. It leaves them feeling empty again within just a few hours. So they beg, they pace, they wake you up at 4 in the morning because their body keeps telling them something is missing. When you start feeding wet food daily, that cycle starts to break. The higher protein content triggers a real satiety response. The moisture adds volume to the meal, which physically stretches the stomach just enough to activate those "I'm done" signals. A study in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior actually confirmed this. Cats fed high-protein diets showed significantly reduced food-seeking behavior and were less likely to show signs of frustration between meals. Your cat eats, they feel full, and they actually walk away. Now, to be fair, not all frantic eating comes down to food type alone. Some cats develop speed eating as a habit, especially in multi-cat homes or cats with a stressful past. In those cases, wet food helps a lot, but pairing it with something like a food puzzle can make a huge difference. It slows them down and taps into their natural foraging instincts, which is exactly how their brains were wired to eat in the first place. Once both sides are working together, the shift is hard to miss. Cats that feel consistently satisfied become calmer around food in general. The guarding stops, the desperation fades. Mealtime goes from chaotic to calm. Number 5. The one risk most owners never think about. So if wet food does all of this, why would there be a downside? This is the part I mentioned earlier, the one that can quietly backfire if you're not paying attention. Most owners open a can, scoop it into the bowl, and walk away. Makes sense, right? But wet food does not behave like kibble. Kibble can sit out all day and not change much. Wet food can't. The moment it hits room temperature, bacteria start multiplying, and depending on how warm your home is, that safe window can be as short as 1 to 2 hours. Cats that like to graze throughout the day are especially at risk. If your cat eats a little, walks away, and comes back later, that second visit might not be safe anymore. The food may look the same. It may even smell fine to you. But bacterial growth doesn't announce itself. The safe rule is simple. Never leave wet food out for more than 2 hours. If your cat hasn't finished it by then, toss it. And any unused portion from the can should be covered and refrigerated immediately. Even then, use it within 48 hours. One more thing most owners miss: serving cold, wet food straight from the fridge isn't great either. Cats are drawn to food that's close to body temperature because it mimics fresh prey. A few seconds in the microwave, or a splash of warm water, brings it to the right temperature and makes it way more appealing. This isn't a reason to avoid wet food. Everything we covered still holds true. But the difference between wet food helping your cat and quietly causing problems comes down to how you handle it after you open the can. Get that part right, and you're giving your cat exactly what their body was designed for. Number 6. What wet food does to their teeth, and what everyone gets wrong. There's a myth that just won't die. That dry food cleans your cat's teeth like a toothbrush. But here's the reality. Most cats don't actually chew kibble. They shatter it once and swallow. And even when they do chew, the kibble breaks so fast there's almost no abrasive action against the tooth. Plaque and tartar build up right at the gum line, and that's exactly where kibble never touches. Wet food doesn't actively clean teeth, that's true. But neither does dry food, not really. Studies show the difference in dental health between wet-fed and dry-fed cats is minimal, if it exists at all. What actually works? Active dental care. Brushing, dental treats, regular vet checkups. Food is not your dental tool, it never was. So if you've been avoiding wet food because you're worried about teeth, that's a myth. Dental health depends on what you do, not just what you feed. So let's recap. What really happens when you feed wet food every day? 1. Their body finally gets the hydration it evolved for. 2. Nain. 2. Their weight naturally regulates thanks to protein. 3. Their coat becomes an honest mirror of inner health. 4. Their behavior around food becomes calm and satisfied. 5. But only if you handle it safely. 2 hours max. And 6. Dental health comes from care, not from kibble. Wet food isn't a miracle cure, but it is the closest thing we have to what your cat's body was actually designed to eat. In the wild, no cat eats dry biscuits. They eat prey, moist, protein-rich, nutrient-dense. Wet food brings them one huge step closer to that origin. And when you do it right, with fresh food, proper storage, and realistic expectations, you're not just giving them a meal. You're giving them exactly what their body has needed for thousands of years. If this video helped you understand your cat a little better, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to The Cat's Mood for more science-based insights every week. And tell me in the comments, are you already feeding wet food, or are you thinking about switching? Next week, we're diving into why your cat brings you gifts. The disturbing truth. I'm Dr. Lena. Thanks for watching. See you next time.